Nestled amidst the serene and picturesque landscape of the heartland of America, there stood a unique schoolhouse unlike any other. Its walls were not made of conventional brick and mortar, but of vibrant ideas and boundless curiosity. The school was a sacred abode of knowledge, where young minds were nurtured to bloom under the invigorating sun of John Dewey's revolutionary educational philosophy. This was a place that valued the inquisitive spirit of students, where they were encouraged to think critically, question the status quo, and explore their own creativity. The approach of rote memorization and rigid conformity was shunned. Instead, the focus was on providing a fertile ground where young minds could thrive and develop into well-rounded individuals. The school was a testament to the power of progressive education, and its impact on the future of education in America was undeniable. John Dewey was a visionary born in 1859, dissatisfied with his era's conventional education methods. To him, education was not a mere sterile transfer of knowledge. Instead, it was a vibrant tapestry, intricately woven with experiences and explorations. His philosophy revolved around the belief that children were not empty vessels waiting to be filled, but sparks waiting to be ignited. He believed that education was not just about preparing students for the future, but about enriching their present lives. To Dewey, education was life itself. He envisioned a schoolhouse that was not just a prison of desks and textbooks, but a vibrant agora, buzzing with the hum of discovery and the clatter of creation. Gone were the rigid rows of desks, replaced with collaborative learning circles. In these circles, students were not just passive recipients of knowledge, but active participants in their own learning. Dewey's vision was not just about educating students, but about creating a community of learners who were curious, engaged, and eager to learn. Dewey's educational philosophy was a dynamic blend of pragmatism and progressivism, challenging his era's prevalent factory-like model of education. He was a strong proponent of learning by doing, a concept that underscored the importance of hands-on exploration and experimentation over rote memorization and passive learning. Dewey envisioned a transformed classroom where students were not just passive recipients of information, but active participants in the learning process. He believed knowledge was not a static treasure to be acquired, but a dynamic seed planted and nurtured through active engagement and exploration. In his classroom, students would no longer be confined to the pages of dusty textbooks, but would be encouraged to explore, experiment, and discover the world around them. For instance, they could dissect a frog or build a miniature city using rulers and cardboard to learn about biology, geometry, and urban planning. For Dewey, the schoolhouse was not just a building, but an extension of the larger community. He envisioned the community as a vast learning laboratory where students would engage with their environment, learn from their experiences, and contribute actively to the social fabric. As such, Dewey's educational vision went beyond the traditional classroom boundaries, as he saw his students as active contributors to the community. His students would interview local farmers to understand economics, plant community gardens to learn about botany and ecology, and volunteer at soup kitchens to cultivate empathy and social responsibility. This approach to education aims to equip students with the skills and knowledge necessary to become active and responsible citizens who can positively impact their communities and society as a whole. John Dewey's ideas were radical and transformative for his time, and they remain influential in the field of education to this day. He believed in a student-centered learning approach, focusing on hands-on activities and critical thinking. This approach was revolutionary, as it starkly contrasted traditional rote memorization and lecturing methods. Despite the many benefits that Dewey's approach offered, it was met with criticism from some quarters. Some detractors found fault with the perceived lack of structure in his student-driven model, fearing it would lead to chaos and a lack of discipline. However, Dewey remained resolute in his belief that traditional rote learning was limiting and that students needed to be engaged to learn genuinely. Dewey's ideas soon found enthusiastic support from educators worldwide who recognized the limitations of traditional schooling. His influence can be seen in many educational models, including the Montessori method, Waldorf education, and even modern movements like project-based learning and STEM education. However, the journey toward educational reform was more than just a solitary one for Dewey. He had a team of passionate allies who shared his vision for change. Jane Addams, a social reformer, created Hull House, a community center that embodied Dewey's principles of learning through social engagement. Francis Parker, a visionary educator, implemented Dewey's ideas at the University of Chicago School of Education, paving the way for generations of progressive educators. Together, these three pioneers formed a powerful partnership that forever transformed the educational landscape. Addams provided the social context, Parker provided the practical implementation, and Dewey provided the philosophical bedrock. Their collaboration was a symphony of minds, each adding their own instrument to the composition of a new educational fortress, its walls not of stone, but of shared ideals and an unwavering belief in the transformative power of education. Through their efforts, they created a legacy of progressive education that continues to shape how we think about teaching and learning today. John Dewey's educational journey encountered resistance and challenges akin to a ship navigating stormy seas. The prevailing winds of conservatism threatened to quench the flames of his innovative ideas, especially as he sought to reform traditional educational practices. Despite facing criticism from those who clung to familiar and time-tested methods of the past, Dewey stood firm, resembling a seasoned sailor navigating treacherous waters with unwavering conviction. Critics questioned the practicality of Dewey's methods, deeming them too radical, particularly in the context of larger, more traditional school settings. Nevertheless, Dewey, much like a determined captain, maintained his course. He adamantly believed that education was not about enforcing conformity, but rather about fostering critical thinking, engaged citizenship, and equipping individuals to navigate the complexities of the modern world. The metaphorical schoolhouse in the woods, representing Dewey's educational philosophy, symbolized hope and inspiration. Its windows, illuminated by the light of curiosity, defiantly stood against the encroaching darkness of conventional education. Dewey's commitment to the idea that education was not a privilege reserved for a select few, but a birthright for all persisted. As the narrative transitions to the present day, the metaphorical schoolhouse in the woods retains its relevance. Dewey's words echo with increased power in a 21st century world saturated with information. Rote memorization, Dewey argued, is now obsolete. The demand is for individuals who can think critically, collaborate to solve problems, and adapt to the ever-changing knowledge landscape. Central to Dewey's philosophy, these principles are even more pertinent in our contemporary, rapidly evolving world. Dewey's emphasis on active learning and critical thinking has not only weathered the storms of skepticism, but has also emerged as a guiding light in modern education. His Schoolhouse in the Woods serves as a timeless reminder that education is a dynamic force, evolving with the needs of society. It is a call to embrace an educational paradigm that prepares individuals not just for the challenges of today, but equips them with the skills to thrive in an uncertain future. John Dewey's legacy, embodied in his Schoolhouse in the Woods, continues to inspire educators and learners alike, encouraging them to navigate the seas of knowledge with curiosity, critical thinking, and unwavering conviction. As a fan of Dewey, how do you think his legacy and the metaphorical schoolhouse in the woods can inspire current and future educators in their mission to prepare students for the challenges of an ever-evolving society?